Tonight on The Struggle, we learn just how simple it is to buy a house. Disney makes a commitment to diversity and going from dumpster diving to national pride. Peter Gutwein made political waves when he announced his resignation as Tasmanian Premier. In his press conference, Gutwein stated he had nothing left in the tank, which officially makes resigning as Premier the most drastic step taken by an Aussie to avoid refuelling. The former state Liberal leader also received praise from the Prime Minister, who acknowledged that Gutwein didn't put a foot wrong in his pandemic management. That's high praise coming from someone who not only has a habit of putting his foot in it, but who's also got history with the wrong foot. Messages of appreciation flowed in from everywhere, from groups to individuals and even rival party members wishing him the best. By the sounds of things, Peter Gutwein was a unanimously loved figure whose sudden departure from politics has deeply shocked the public. So let's find out just how upset mainland people are at seeing such a beloved Premier depart from office.
Peter who?
Totally gutted. Well, with the federal election imminent, we hit the pavement to find out if young voters know how to navigate a ballot paper.
Now that the federal election has been announced, I've decided to hit Monash University's Clayton campus to ask students whether or not they know how to vote and can they do it creatively. So, is this your first time voting?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes.
Yep. Do you ladies know how to vote?
Not entirely, no. Yeah, neither do I.
In theory, yeah.
I mean, kind of. I know, like, it's numbered from 1 is the highest vote, and then it goes down.
I know they're big and you have to do it in order. Yeah, numbers in a box.
How do you vote?
Anything not ScoMo.
But I've also heard that on Twitter, when people ask the Australian Electoral Commission whether or not they could draw on their ballot paper, they've actually said yes. I have some paper and pen. Would you like to draw something on it and pretend it's your ballot paper? You won't be graded on this, don't worry. Passive aggressive? Okay. It's a self-portrait. Tony Abbott. The politicians will have a lot to look forward to this year. It's so nice to see so many artistic voters here in Australia. It really does seem like arts does have a place in politics after all.
Great to see the public so engaged. Apparently, a handful of kids at Brisbane Girls Grammar School have started pretending to be cats and foxes. They've asked to be called furries by their classmates, though I don't think that term means what they think it means. Nevertheless, the Daily Mail described their behaviour as woke, and Sky News suggested progressive attitudes in entertainment media might be to blame, despite the story not actually being verified as true. Yes, what started as a soapbox rant for conservative commentators turned into a field day for Paul Barry on Media Watch to highlight yet another instance of shoddy journalism. Speaking of progressive attitudes in entertainment, or perhaps their exact opposite, Max Payne had a lot to say about Disney this week. So let's listen in.
Welcome back to the Payne-cast. I'm Max Payne, and I'm so alpha, I rip sunburned skin off of myself before it's even ready to peel. Oh, it still stings. Bros, today I'm going to talk about something from Florida. No, not Met. No, not the Florida Man meme either, though he does serve as an inspiration to all of us. I'm talking about the hullabaloo over the so-called Don't Say Gay law. Apparently, Disney has come out, see what I did there, against the law, prompting a bunch of whiny beta males to cancel their Disney Plus subscriptions and complain about it online. Like, first off, to these guys, you're not a true man if you go on the internet to complain about your problems. You need to bottle them up, push them deep down inside you, and let the internalized stress eventually give you a heart attack. Be a man.
Oh yeah!
But guys, I do get it. We're living in 2022, and you don't want to say the word gay anymore. I understand. I agree with you. In fact, I think it's time that we finally started saying what gay men really are. Alphas, true alphas. After all, they other men. What's more alpha than another man in the I can't think of anything. Can you? What, you want a soft, effeminate woman to take you to bed at night? Huh? Gay! True alphas only roam with other alphas, and that means men. So I, for one, can't wait to see more of these alpha gays in our Disney movies. In fact, I want to see a reboot of Beauty and the Beast, where the Beast gets with Gaston, manly man Gaston, instead. And then they go and they each other in the with a and then head back to the bedroom so they can
Well, we had to cut that bit. Sorry about that, everyone. Looks like Max got a little too excited. For a more family values kind of vibe, let's now turn to Linda Crawford in Brighton. Thanks, darling. Loving the outfit this week. So for those of you who were keeping up to date and watched my segment last week, which I really hope you all did because I'm honestly very interesting and just have very important things to share, I am running for a seat in Parliament. I know, how exciting. My friends think I'm fabulous. I mean, they hang on every word I say, and who can really blame them though? I'm clearly a shoo-in. I'm really going to miss this beautiful place in Brighton when I move up to Kirribilli House, but I am dedicated and will do whatever it takes to get that seat, even if it means moving up to New South Wales. You do move into Kirribilli House when you win a seat in Parliament, don't you? Yeah, well, look, I don't really know the living arrangements, but I guess I'll find out. I just hope the maid over there is on top of her duties because no way am I sleeping near ScoMo and Jenny's sheets, darling. Ew. Anyway, speaking of dedication, my little Olivia loves the TikToks and told me that I ought to start using it if I want to win this upcoming election. But in all honesty, I'm finding them pretty ridiculous, darling, like Oregon stupid. Let's take a look at this one, for example.
To give people cost of living relief right now.
With all due respect, darling, I can't understand a word they are saying. They really need to get better at their diction and enunciation if they want to win me over with their TikToks. Let's take a look at another one. Ah, gosh, that one got a little repetitive there, hey darling. My little Olivia loves Dua Lipa, but that is the worst remix of hers I have ever heard. Whew, okay, one more.
And I'll tell you what, it's not gonna tow your trailer.
All right, are we really resorting to toilet humor on this app now? That's enough TikToks for me today. I mean, like, I really want this seat and everything, but I don't know whether I'm prepared to stoop this low. Yeah, I have standards, darling, and a reputation to protect. I need to be taken seriously, okay? So very seriously. Look at me. If you catch me making one of these, it will likely be on my deathbed. Back to you, Ren. Thanks, Linda. We're off to a quick break. Welcome back. Well, we're now joined by Jenny, the federal government's empathy coach.
Hi, sweetie.
Now, Jenny, it's been another interesting week for Scott Morrison. Michael Toke, who contested to the federal seat that Morrison ended up winning in 2007, came out this week, not only calling Scott Morrison a compulsive liar, but also claimed he was racist against him during the campaign.
You see, Ren, I've just never seen Scott be racist.
Does that mean he isn't?
Definitely not. In fact, there's a very high chance he could be racist. Honestly, I was almost certain this would be brought up. That's why I decided to step in early. I've been working behind the scenes in full damage control mode for a while now to ensure that Scott would know how to handle this. Make sure he'd know how to make it look like he wasn't racist.
And how do you do that, Jenny?
Simple. Step 1. Get all your mates from the Liberal Party echo chamber to back you up. This week, I got good old Joshy onto it straight away.
There's not a racist bone in Scott Morrison's body.
White men claiming they've never seen other white men be racist. It's a true classic. That's why I got Barnaby on board next. He came out and said that these allegations were just designed to be a political hit. We're really trying to push the friends narrative between these two. Things have been a little rocky between them since we found out that Barnaby thinks Scott is a liar and a hypocrite in those leaked text messages. I mean, he's probably not wrong, but I did think that was a little rich coming from Barnaby.
Interesting. So what was in the racism recovery plan for Scott himself then?
Great question, sweetie. Recently, I've learnt the best way to hide Scott's lack of empathy and moral compass is to have him just not say much. He often stuffs it up when he does have to talk. This week, I told him the magic word would just be no. No. No.
In 2007, did you warn Liberal members the party could lose Cook because people thought Michael Toby was a Muslim?
No.
You didn't say those words?
No.
You never said he couldn't be trusted because of his Lebanese background?
No.
Unfortunately, Jenny, these weren't the only allegations made this week. A Liberal senator from Scott Morrison's own party came out with some pretty significant claims.
It is his way or the highway, an autocrat, a bully who has no moral compass.
You see, Ren, this situation here was totally different. Unlike the racism comments, these recent allegations were made by a female. They're much easier to cover up. First off, start by calling the woman by not just her first name, but a nickname. Senator Conchetta Fierravanti-Wells will now just go by Connie. This is instantly demeaning, and it can make it seem like you're just a couple of besties having a small fight. Secondly, blame it on emotions. She was unsuccessful that day and was probably just on her period or something. That type of vibe.
Oh, well, look, I understand that Connie is disappointed that as 500 members of the Liberal Party came to select our candidates for the Senate at the next election, that she was unsuccessful.
Work's a treat.
Well, Jenny, you've certainly got your work cut out for you, that's for sure. Look, we know the PM has a tendency to say some pretty strange things at times, but every now and then he unfurls a pearl of wisdom that makes people stop and say, Scotty, you genius. One such moment occurred when ScoMo suggested tenants should avoid paying rent by buying a house. I mean, what a revelation. How did cash-strapped young people struggling to make ends meet not think of this solution themselves? Regardless, thanks to Scotty's brainwave, there's now a whole new demographic on the hunt for their own home. So we headed down to a local auction to see just how easy it is to get into the property market.
On the advice of the Prime Minister, we've brought a bunch of people together to just buy a house. We got a nice crowd here today of students, young professionals, and other general riffraff. And we've got a beautiful house behind us, 4 beds, 3 baths, valued at the low, low price of just $2 million. For you group of 8 young lads at the back currently drinking, that's only $250,000 each. So let's start the bidding. Do I have 2 million? No? Why is everyone looking so disgusted? Do I have 1.7? Can I get 1.7? Anyone? Can I get 1.5? You grocery store worker right up here in the front. Can I get 1.5 million from you? You got 1.5 million lying around, right? No? Okay, how about 1 million? Just doing the 1 million. Student in the middle with all the help loans. You've got $1 million, right? No? Okay, we'll go down to 500,000. Just 500,000 for this beautiful home, folks. Can I get 500,000 from the lady with the pumpkin spice latte? Yes, queen? No, queen. All right, we're down to 200,000. That's 90% off. Final offer. You there, Uber Eats driver. 200,000's all you need to buy. Just buy a house. Any bids? Anyone? Wait, where's everybody going?
Sounds promising. Well, with Peter Gutwein joining Stephen Marshall and Gladys Berejiklian as premiers to recently relinquish power, state leadership now seems a far cry from the good old lockdown days where premiers seemed invincible. And while Dan Andrews is still in charge of Victoria at the moment, he did have to stay home recently after testing positive to COVID. This had Victorians raising a lot of questions. Where did he contract it? Is this the end of Dictator Dan? But most importantly, what did he binge watch while sidelined from the daily press briefings? Everyone knows a week in ISO means a chance to catch up on the latest Netflix hits. But I really want to hear from Premier Andrews himself.
My friends call me Dan, so you can call me Dan.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realise we were friends. So I understand you were watching the show Byron Bays. How did you react to seeing those big personalities live it up in New South Wales?
There's something very special about those people. They are the best of us.
What about that documentary, The Tinder Swindler? What are your thoughts on dating app cons?
It's clear that there's been appalling behaviour for a lengthy period. If we had known about that, then we would have acted then.
But aren't sex and money normal aspirations for young people?
For whatever the motivation, they're simply not correct.
Interesting take. Well, the latest season of Bridgerton has just been released. What do you make of the controversy surrounding the explicit content?
You wouldn't want it any other way.
Can you further explain yourself, please?
The very nature of a platonic relationship between two people who are coming together to spend time with each other, that's very different to intimate partners who, by virtue of the fact that they are intimate partners, their contact is of a different nature.
Okay, Dan, I think we've got the idea. Now, I know you're a fan, so what did you think about the last MAFS dinner party?
The dinner party started with one person who had the coronavirus. By the end of the dinner party, almost everybody at the dinner party had the coronavirus.
A bit off topic there, Dan, but I understand you've had COVID on the brain lately, so, we'll let this one slide. Thanks for joining us today. Let's now look to the future and see how plans for the Brisbane Olympics are going.
With Brisbane now confirmed to host the 2032 Olympic Games, attention is being cast onto more specific details, such as who or what will take on the prestigious role of Olympic mascot. None other than the infamous bin chicken, the ibis, is currently a main contender for the position, despite being recognized as a national pest. It seems the Olympic Committee is all about embracing Australia's most irksome, embarrassing, or just downright shameful characteristics. Here's a look at the other contenders. Candidate 1, cane toads. Originally brought to Australia in 1935 to control the cane beetle population, the classic cane toad has been making the nation's skin crawl ever since. Slimy and sleazy, it's the toxic uncle of the amphibian family. Surely its reputation could do with this boost. Candidate 2, colonialism. In recent years, this one has taken quite the publicity hit. While once a whitewashed backstory of brave adventurers and gutsy convicts, things have gone a little downhill since the Black Lives Matter protests. Surely it deserves a second chance in the spotlight, right? With this as Australia's Olympic mascot, maybe we'll be able to sweep accusations of genocide and land theft under the carpet once and for all. And finally, candidate 3, Kevin Rudd. If there's anyone who really captures the spirit of lingering when he's not wanted, it's Kevin 07. Ousted by his own party before having the audacity to snatch back the top spot in 2013, Kev was a national pest and proud of it. He also set the trend of the PM swap, now a deeply embedded part of Australia's cultural identity, where leadership is so weak, we wake up each morning uncertain of who is actually running the country. With the candidates lined up, it's now time for you to have your say. Who do you think will best represent what Australia is most embarrassed about and convince the world Aussies really are those down-to-earth, laid-back larrikins with no shame to hide? Vote today at 1300 I'm an Australian, get me out of here, because it would be un-Australian not to.
Curious. Time for another break. Welcome back again. With Jeff Kennett in the headlines, Dacos playing for Collingwood, and Carlton not sitting on the bottom of the ladder, you could be mistaken for thinking this was the 1990s. So if you're feeling a bit nostalgic, feel free to dust off your Nokias and Tamagotchis. But beware, Y2K is just around the corner. Moving on, there's more to success than going to uni, as Barath finds out with our next guest.
All right, so our guest today is one of ABC's hottest stars. He is a former AFL Swans player. He's the sport presenter currently on ABC's morning news program, News Breakfast. And now he's hosting the ABC's top-rating news show, A Dog's World with Tony Armstrong. So, Tony, getting right into it, how much of this can you credit to going to uni?
None. Absolutely none. Yeah, one of those things where I finally found something that I enjoyed doing and I had aptitude for. And then if you kind of the third bit that you have to hold up is hard work, you know, and a little bit of luck along the way, and took my opportunities. And yeah, so I can't attribute anything to university. But yeah, I mean, I've learned so much on the job,
yeah,
which has been good.
So, you know, I can see that you have your indigenousness, your footy, and your animal show. So, you know, where did you learn about animals, like in footies or in the parties?
So I learned about animals. I had a dog. I had a dog, Junior. He was a black Labrador.
Oh, I had a black Labrador as well. His name was Simba.
Well, there you go. There you go. So we're twins a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the opportunity came up to host the dog show, and I jumped at it. Like the email came through my agent, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And basically, before they got to the end of their sentence, I'd agreed to whatever the terms were.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that underpins it all is, you know, they say, like, there's a really good saying. I don't really like sayings that often because I find them a bit cheesy, but I think this one really rings true. It's like, good luck. I don't reckon yeah, sure, good luck exists, but I think what good luck really is, it's when opportunity and hard work intersect.
That is not cheesy at all. That's really insightful.
So it's like, you know, you might, like, someone who's not working hard and someone who's not ready can still get lucky, but they won't see all the opportunities that come their way. If you're working hard and you're always ready to go, you'll get that opportunity, because everyone gets the opportunities, but you've got to be ready to take it. You've got to be ready to walk through the door, because it's bloody competitive. And yeah, like you just have to be ready. And how are you ready? You've just got to be better than everyone else. And how do you get better? You work hard. You work hard to make it look easy, and then the opportunity comes and you take it.
That's how it's, you know, it's gonna take off. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's becoming a tradition in this segment here at The Struggle that, you know, where we ask the guests about how to party, you know. It's been going
how
on.
to party.
Yeah. So, you know, come at me. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. So the right way to party, or the way I like to party, well, you've got to curate a nice space. You know, you need to have a nice space. So if you're having a party at your house or at mine, I'd make sure that I've got, you know, the room set up nice and right, got the lighting right. And you can't have a party without some good tunes. So you've got to have a DJ.
Yeah.
You know, a selection of non-alcoholic drinks, alcoholic drinks, some food for everyone as well. And then finally, you've got to have interesting people there, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to have interesting people there, Barath. I think if you've got all of those things in line, then just absolutely send it. I reckon just give it hell, party to the crack of dawn, and then sleep it off.
Yeah, amazing.
Captivating stuff. Right, well, with so many investment options going round, let's head over to Stephanie Bonks for the latest market trends.
Thanks, Ren. Now for a look at the hottest stock trades for the week. Elon Musk bought a 10% share of Twitter. So the price of Twitter shares is hot. Speaking of hot, Elon's got some hot takes on Twitter too. Like this one. Or this one. Super hot take right here. Only the hottest takes around from Elon. Should a man with such hot takes have the power to single-handedly reshape one of the largest social media platforms in the world? Oh look, jokes. Well, I guess if he can joke about it, that makes everything okay. Back to you, Ren.
Thanks for the Elon update, Steph. Now it's time for a quick check of the weather.
As flooding has hit New South Wales yet again, it is becoming clearer whether the federal government will only avoid accountability for its decade of climate denialism and inaction, or also abscond from the cause of recovery, hanging victims out to, well, not be dry. Whether floods of disappointment will end with literal water surge or persist throughout the entire election campaign is leaving most voters in the doldrums. Senator Conchetta's scathing comments of the PM have turned up the temperature in Canberra, posing whether senior ministers defending Morrison's character will receive bonus frequent flyer points and a How to Holiday in Hawaii travel guide, or a few extra $1,000 taxpayer dollars in their already extravagant annual salary. And finally, as the trough of uncertainty continues up and down the eastern coast, questions loom of whether the Liberal Party will finally call the election or realize Como is a no-go and reshuffle their leadership to place yet another balding white guy with daughters to humble him at the top. Whether this final ploy to boost opinion polls will once again be enough to satisfy the Australian public will ultimately determine just how far we've gone as a nation deeply committed to she'll be right, even in the face of climate change, colonialism, and you guessed it, Clive Palmer.
Thanks, Varen. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. With the Australian Grand Prix back after a couple years of hiatus, it was great to have the F1 back in Melbourne. Commiserations to Red Bull, who missed out on the win, although perhaps they would have fared better if they focused more on land speed rather than trying to give everyone wings. Until next week, the struggle. It's real.